Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Friday Live. I missed you. Excuse me, I missed you last week. I'm glad I'm back. Hopefully the sound is better this week. Yeah, let me know in the comments if the sound is a little crazy. Trying out a new mic again, right here. Well, I hope it goes well. So today, like the title says, I'm going to be showing you 3 different ways that you can use coloring stamps, outline stamps, when you're not coloring them. So this is going to be a good way to stretch those stamps. Like if you do like to color, this is a way to stretch those images. Or if you are not into the coloring, this is for you as well, because I'm going to give you some ideas. Sometimes we just love the images so much, but we're not really excited about coloring it because it could be a little bit lengthy, right? Let's get into this. I'm going to switch to my overhead camera. I'm going to be using 3 different stamp sets today from all different companies, so I hope that gives you some good ideas. The first one we're starting with is this stamp set called Peony Bouquet from Mama Elephant. It's very, very pretty. They have the stems to make it a bouquet separate. So if you don't want it to be a bouquet, you don't have to. First gonna stamp this. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little bit of ink blending. I think this is one of the fastest, most simplest ways to use an outline stamp when you're not coloring it. I'm using some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock. And this is a big stamp. Isn't that so pretty? It was hard to see with the stamp on there, but look how pretty. Love that. I'm just gonna have it right there. And I'm going to stamp this in a black waterproof ink. And my favorite is VersaFine. Actually, you know what? We won't do VersaFine. We will do Intense Black ink from Simon, because I think it dries a little bit quicker when you do multiple layers. So that's why I'm using this color in particular, or this ink in particular. Ooh, sorry for that scratch noise. All right, I'm gonna use my Stampin' Bug to get a really good impression. Just one more stamp to get it really well. I think 2 is gonna be the charm. Oh, that's gorgeous. Look how pretty that is. I have to show you this up close. Look how gorgeous that is. This is such a pretty stamp. Now this would be perfect for coloring, but like I said, we're not going to be coloring this today. We're going to do a little bit of ink blending. Okay, so these are some little finger brushes, blending brushes. These are from Simon Says Stamp, and they all come together like this. There is a lid for the top one, but the rest of these I can just put out like this. And then I can use the brushes for all my different colors. And the thing that's great about these little tiny blender brushes is you have a lot of control. I'm gonna start with Buttercup. So I'm gonna start with my little yellow finger dauber, and you can put your finger inside or just hold the outside. I like to put my finger in. I feel like I get a little bit more control. So I'm going to do the centers of these with a little bit of yellow. This ink, actually, it might not be dry. Just to be safe, I'm gonna hit this with my heat tool. Turning it over, that helps to prevent warping because you're heating from both sides. Okay, that's probably enough. Put that yellow right there in the center. There we go. Now I can see a little bit of yellow coming out. I'm gonna get yellow right over here on this side as well. Just right where there's the center of the flower. That's where I'm getting the yellow. I'm gonna take my stamp chamois and I'm going to be just cleaning off my brush. I'm gonna go with grapefruit. Get a bunch of that color on the brush. You'll see it's transferring on. Okay, and then I can just start blending. Oh, that color is gonna be gorgeous. I'm gonna take a little bit of cranberry And I'm going to try to get it, I mean, I don't know how precise I'll be able to get it. I'm going to try to just get a corner of the brush. I'm going to try to just, oh, this might be a mistake. Just try to blend out the center there. Oh, that's not too bad. That actually looks nice. So it's almost like coloring, right? In fact, I need to step away from the more intense, lots of color blending and get moving here because I'm trying to show you non-coloring ways to blend. You know, it's really hard for a person who loves coloring to not color this image. It's so pretty. I'm going to take Sorbet. I'm going to grab some honeysuckle. We're going to bring some really good pink in here. We're going to go into the green. We're going to go with parsley. And what I would do to finish off this image is, it lost a lot of the detail in the center here. So I'm taking a white gel pen and I'm just adding some little dots right in the center. They're not even on actual areas of the stamp. You know, but I just want to bring a little bit of lightness back there in the center since, you know, it did get fairly dark when I added that cranberry. I think that looks really pretty. So this is probably where I would stop, and I think you could finish off this card with just a really simple greeting. You don't have to do anything really fancy. In fact, there are a couple greetings in the stamp set that would look lovely just down here at the bottom. In fact, let's stamp one. How about birthday hugs? This is when I am going to switch to my VersaFine. And just put that right down here. Lovely. So that could be the finished card design if you wanted it to be. Okay, so that's the first way that you could use outline coloring stamps in a non-coloring way, like not traditional coloring way. This was sort of coloring with ink blending, but I think most anyone could do this. The next kind of way we're going to use an outline stamp, I'm going to be showing you with this stamp set from the Greeting Farm. This is called Let's Go. Look how cute those images are. So I thought this would make fun. This would be fun to have kind of like pastel candy-ish colors. So I've picked out different colors of cardstock, 5 different colors. How fun are those? I had to put labels on them. I put Post-its on them so I knew what they were. And we're going to create bands of cardstock, and then we'll stamp the images on top. This is very similar to what I did in my video on Tuesday with the new Colorado Craft Company stamps. So I'm cutting the cardstock into 1-inch strips. The colors I'm using today are Concord and 9th Honeysuckle. This is Concord and 9th Ballet Slippers. Simus Stamp Lemon Chiffon, Simus Stamp Lavender, and Concord and 9th Sea Glass. Those are my colors for today. I'm going to grab some scratch paper. I like to just use grid paper that I've cut up. And I'm going to cut it into just slightly smaller than an A2 card. I think I'm going to have it be 3 3/4 wide by 5 inches tall. So it's 1/2 inch smaller in each dimension in comparison to a finished card size. I'm going to take my tape runner adhesive, and I'm just going to put a line of adhesive on each edge and also down the middle. I'm going to be keeping these all together, so it doesn't matter if I get every single corner, but I do want to make sure that I get the edges. So I'm going to take my purple, which is actually lavender, put that down. And you want to have these pressed up against each other as much as you can. You don't want any gaps. Now, for this particular technique, there are a couple ways that you can put your image on top. You can stamp it in black or a darker ink. And for that, I would recommend using lighter colors of cardstock. Mine are fairly light today, so I'm just going to be using black. But if you want to use more intense color, something that's more, like black or navy or a dark green, you might consider stamping your images and then heat embossing on top with like a white heat embossing powder, or even metallic would be really pretty. Okay, I'm gonna cut off the ends here. You could use a paper trimmer for this. I find it easier to get very precise if I used a ruler and a craft knife. All right, so each one of these cardstock strips is 1 inch tall. And because my piece here was 5 inches tall, it's pretty perfect to have just 5 colors. I want the balloon up here. Trying to decide if I want the ladder. I don't know if I have room for it. I might. But in the stamp set, there are these other little bunnies that can be hanging from the ladder, which I think is so, so, so cute. So I'm just getting kind of an idea of where it would be. Be about right there. Now we're going to need to do a little bit of masking so that the bunny looks like he's hanging from the ladder. So I'm going to put the bunny right there, remove everything else, keep him right there. Okay, I've got a little bit of masking paper here. I'm gonna check which side is the sticky side. Okay, that's the sticky side, so that's the right side up. I'm using a VersaFine ink. And we'll stamp our cute little bunny. And then I'm gonna remove this briefly, put in that masking paper and just get the residual ink. See, it's just pretty faint. This stamp set from the Greeting Farm, once again, is called Let's Go. We're just creating the mask so that it will look like the bunny is on the ladder. I'm gonna put the mask directly on top of that bunny. All right, and now I can continue stamping. And this is a big image, so I'm going to use my glider to go over that. I want to press it down evenly, but not too much. I don't want to blow out the lines. Coming down right like that. Okay, the stamp set has some clouds, so I'm going to add those in. And just have, in fact, you know what? That'd be really cute to have one kind of going behind the balloon. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp the balloon on this masking paper. And I'll put this mask directly on top. Okay. And stamp down. I think that something that could be really cool is you could use a blender pen and add just a little bit of shading. But that's, yet again, that's getting closer to coloring, so maybe not. But maybe a colored pencil or something like that. But look how cute. So, so, so adorable. So here's a really basic card design that you could just put on a white card base. If I've got time here at the end, I will definitely do that. In fact, we're moving fairly quickly. I might have time for that. My third idea for a coloring stamp set, but using it in a non-coloring way, we're going to make a fun background using this stamp set from Honeybee. Look how cute. For all us crafty, artsy people, this is totally right up our alley, right? So, so, so cute. So I'm going to do a bunch of stamping in different colors of ink. Now, I think it's going to be infinitely easier to stamp these without the MISTI because you don't have to deal with taking it off the door and like moving things around so much. So I'm going to be using an acrylic block. We're going to put that one in Poppy. And I'll have it just coming in off the edge. So I'm going to kind of plan ahead. Like these scissors nestle in really nicely into the top edge of the palette. So I'm going to take Marmalade and just stamp that right in there. It's going to nestle in there nice. I think I'm going to have this pencil, and it's perfect because I'm sort of going in rainbow order. So we're going to go with Buttercup. I'm going to take a pencil, and we'll put that right here. Maybe we'll have it kind of going like this. Now, there are not any greetings on this stamp set, right? So one way you could do this is add a greeting from a different stamp set. I actually have one from Honeybee. I think it came out in the same release. It says something about let's be crafty or something, right? Here we go. Here it is. It's the stamp set right here called Crafty. I'll just get that right there. Sorry, my head was in the way a little bit. Oh. See, that's the problem with using blocks sometimes. If this was a Misty, I would just stamp it in the same spot, right? All right. Well, we're going to get creative here. And I happen to have a black marker here. So we're going to get really crafty ourselves on this crafty card and fill in the gaps there. Now, I know lettering, and I can also kind of look at what it's supposed to be and kind of fill in the gaps. Let's see here. There we go. I can also fill in some of the kind of splotchy areas. And now I can continue stamping around the words. All right, I think I'm going to call it. I think there's plenty of little tiny gaps that I could fill in, but I'm not going to. So here are our 3 ways to use outline stamps without coloring. Kind of fun, right? This one kind of tricks you. It thinks you've colored it, but it was just all ink blending. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope these 3 ideas give you a way to stretch the use of your outline images, or to use them if you don't feel like coloring. This is just a different way to use them. 3 different ways. And like I mentioned earlier, one of the options that I thought about showing you, but I thought it was just a little too simple for what I wanted to do today, is you could make a completely black and white background. So imagine this just stamped all in black. I think that would be stunning. Or this one all in black as well, right? So thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next week with a brand new video. Thanks for watching.